Well, hello, my name is John Watts, and I want to welcome you to our question and answer session on elder law and estate planning. I'm a lawyer in Alabama, have an office in Madison, Alabama, and our main office is in Birmingham, Alabama. But we represent people all over the state. We have elder law clients from the northern part of the state, southern part, and really everywhere in between. So today what we're going to do is answer some questions we've received over the last couple of weeks. I realize it's been maybe a month since we last did this on elder law issues. And so we've got a little bit of a backlog to clear through, but we'll start doing this every Friday. And if you would like to ask a question, you can leave a comment below this and we'll answer it on the next session. Or you can contact us through our website, alabamaelderlawyer.com. Or you can even call us at 205-879-2447. So we've got about 6 questions, and we'll keep this about 30 minutes or so. So our first question has to do with Medicaid, and that is, what is the look-back period? So if you know about Medicaid, then you're familiar. There's a 5-year look-back period, or even if you're not that familiar with it, you may have heard there's something where Medicaid is going to look back in time when we apply for Medicaid. And what is that? So here's the situation. So if today's August 7th, 2015. So if I apply for Medicaid today and I'm qualified for Medicaid, then they look back 5 years in time. Well, what are they looking for over here? They're looking for gifts. Well, what's a gift? A gift is where I've transferred something, it could be money, a boat, property, whatever it may be. I've transferred something, and in exchange, I've not received the full fair market value. So if it's a $10,000 boat and somebody pays me $2,000 for it, and it really has a value of $10,000, well, that's a gift of $8,000. If I just give it away, and get zero in return, that's a $10,000 gift. It's true with bigger numbers too. If I have a $500,000 house and I give that to my kid, and like I said, there are certain exceptions that apply. We're not getting into all those exceptions, just keeping sort of the general, the high level of this law without getting bogged down in the details. But if I give away a $500,000 house to a kid, well, that's a $500,000 gift. So I apply and I qualify. That's critical. I have to qualify now. Then they look back 5 years, 60 months, and all this time period, they're saying, what are the gifts that you have made? And so that's what the look back period is. And we'll talk, I believe our next question has to do with the penalty period, but that is the look back. So we apply, we look back 5 years. And let me just say this, one implication of this is, and I use this example, let's see, last week I was training lawyers all over the state of Alabama on Medicaid. And so I gave this example. What if 59 months ago, my client gave away $580,000 worth of assets, okay? And she's qualified now. I could apply right now and get her on Medicaid. Should I do that? Well, if I apply right now and I'm qualified right now, they look back 60 months. Well, what are they going to see? Well, right here at about month 59, they're going to see she gave away $508,000. There's going to be a huge penalty. And give you the real quick version of the penalty. You take whatever those gifts are, divide them by $5,800. That's what Medicaid says is about the price of a nursing home. And then you go forward in time. And that is your penalty. So $580,000 gift. Remember, I made that like 59 months ago. I apply, I qualify now. They're going to penalize me 100 months into the future. It's like 8 years. So the key to understanding that look back is if you're in a crisis situation right now and you're trying to figure out when do I apply right now? Well, in that situation, you would not apply right now. You would not apply the next month. Go a little bit into the future so that when Medicaid looks back 5 years, they don't see the $508,000 gift. And that's not wrong. That's just following their rules. So that's the look back period, and hope that's helpful to you. Now, our next question is, what is the maximum period that Medicaid can penalize us? And so we're familiar, again, if you listen to our last answer, there's a 5-year look back period. So I qualify for Medicaid, I apply for Medicaid, they look back 5 years, and they total up all the gifts, divide by 5,800, and the answer is the number of months going forward in time I'm penalized. So the last example I used was $580,000 59 months ago. But let's say I apply because I don't really understand the law, and I qualify. Well, then 580,000 divided by 5,800 is 100. 100 months going forward in time, I've got to pay for the nursing home bill. And people go, well, that's crazy. I have lawyers that say, so you can't do that. There's a 5-year maximum on the penalty. No, there's no maximum. If you give away $5.8 million, then I guess it would be, if my math is right, like 1,000 months. What is that? I think that's a lifetime, okay? So it's a really long time regardless. There's no maximum on the penalties. So the key is in understanding the look back and understanding the penalty is controlling when do I apply for Medicaid, assuming I'm qualified. So there are times where we're qualified and we say, I'm applying right now. I know when Medicaid looks back, they'll see some gifts, so they're going to penalize me. That's okay. I've taken that into account, and I have a plan in place to pay for that. Because normally, if somebody comes to us and mom or dad's already in the nursing home, if mom and dad are married, we can save usually 75, 85, maybe 90% of the assets. A single person, we can usually save about half the assets. So we can definitely deal with this penalty period. So sometimes we do apply, we take the penalty. Other times we say, you know what, the penalty period would be so big, we're just going to continue to privately pay. And then at the right time, understanding the rules, when we apply and look back, we don't see those gifts. And so if Medicaid doesn't see the gifts because they're outside that 60-month penalty period, or excuse me, 6-month, 60-month, I'll get it right, look back period, then there's no penalty. So that is a real key point in understanding 60-month look back, and then that be unlimited penalty period, knowing when do you apply. And if somebody comes to us before they're in a crisis situation, then we say, okay, here's what we're going to do with the assets, because we know if we get in a situation where we're in the nursing home, how do we deal with that look back? How do we deal with that penalty? We have a plan in place. So our next question is kind of related to this. Is it illegal to transfer assets? Now, that's all that was said. I think what this means in the context of Medicaid planning or VA pension planning. So is it wrong to give it away? Well, no, it's not wrong to give it away, assuming the person giving it away has capacity, mentally they understand what they're doing. Or if they don't have capacity, somebody has a proper power of attorney and they're fulfilling that power of attorney in the correct way, then sure, you can give away assets. Now, if you give away assets and then you apply for Medicaid, like we talked about in the earlier answer, we apply for Medicaid, we're qualified, they're going to look back 5 years and say, did you give anything away? If you did, or if your parent or your brother, whoever we're talking about, you got to say yes. Now, it's illegal to lie about it. That's fraud. Okay. But if you tell the truth and they say, all right, look back 60 months, did you give anything away? Well, if the answer is yes, you say, yes, I did. Here's exactly what I gave away. If the answer is no, I did not give away anything in the last 60 months, then you answer that no. But it's not illegal. Now, there can be penalties. Right now, as I'm recording this, August of 2015, the VA does not have a penalty or a look back period, but they're trying to establish one. I think they're doing it really outside of their power and authority. But the word on the street is October 1st. They'll start this, and they're going to do a 3-year look back period. And then there'll be a penalty going forward. We won't get into all that right now. But with Medicaid, you look back, there's a penalty. So there might be penalties involved, just in the sense that the says, okay, even though you qualify, we're not going to give you Medicaid benefits or not give you VA pension benefits because you gave stuff away, but it's not illegal to do that. Okay, so our next question, and I think I kind of jumped the gun a little bit here, is what is the change the VA pension is talking about making on look back? Well, again, the VA is going to say, all right, if you qualify, we're going to look back 3 years, and did you give anything away? Their rules right now are a little perplexing, what they're proposing, because they kind of match Medicaid, but then they don't, and it seems to be sort of a distaste for annuities, and we use annuities in Medicaid planning. That's long been allowed, certain types of annuities to be used. So it's a little unclear what the VA is trying to do, other than they don't want people giving away assets. And if Congress passes that law, that's fine. Congress has not passed that law. So the VA is trying to do it on their own. But it will be, if they do it, a 3-year look back period. And then they'll take, total up those assets that you've given away. And again, it's a little confusing. Is it the full amount of the assets or a partial amount? It may be a partial amount. Based on your total amount of assets that you have. So again, a lot of uncertainty about what the VA is trying to do. But then the penalty period going forward is basically taking your pension rate. So for a married couple, this could be about $25,000 a year. For a widow, it'd be about $13,000. Even a single veteran, sometimes around $20,000. And they may use that number to give the number of years of penalty. So we'll keep an eye on that. And I expect there to be a flurry of litigation about these changes coming to the VA pension. The bottom line is, if you think you may qualify, or a family member may qualify for the VA pension, it's probably smart to get on that right away, because after October, the VA at least claims that they're going to be enforcing and now creating this 3-year look back period. We don't know if you apply before October, but you're not fully approved by the time October hits. Is the VA going to try and go back in time? Like I said, just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of language that I don't think they intentionally did it this way, but it's very kind of fuzzy language, very vague, ambiguous. So we're not sure what the VA is trying to do with that, but we'll definitely update you as we know more information. So our next question is, will a revocable living trust protect my assets? I think they really mean like their parents' assets from Medicaid. So let's say mom and dad, they put assets into a revocable living trust, and then later they need Medicaid. Does Medicaid count those assets? And I think, yes, I have this very trusty little treasure chest here. This is a trust, okay? And so say mom or dad have cash investments, and they put in a revocable living trust. Well, first of all, what is a revocable living trust? That is where the lid is open. So I put money in, and then later I go, I'm taking it back out. See, it's still mine. I can revoke it. I can make this whole thing just go away anytime I want. Well, does Medicaid count these assets? Does the VA pension, VA aid and attendance, do they count stuff that's in a revocable living trust? Absolutely. Because the rule is, if I can reach in there and grab it, then the VA can grab it. Medicaid can grab it. And so Medicaid and VA would say, hey, those are your assets, use them. Okay. So definitely counts. We use something called an irrevocable trust for Medicaid planning, VA planning, because once I put that in there and then I apply for Medicaid or VA, and Medicaid or VA say, that's still your asset. I go, no, look, I can't open it. Okay. It has to be set up the right way, follow all the rules of the proper type of trust, but it can be done where that is put into an irrevocable trust and then it's protected. Now, go back to our earlier question. If I put money into an irrevocable trust, if I put a house, my residence, beach house, lake house, into a revocable trust, well, that's still mine. If it's irrevocable, well, now that's a gift because the trust didn't pay me for that. So it's a gift. So I have to keep that in mind when I'm looking at, remember, the 5-year look back period for Medicaid. So hopefully that answers the question on how does Medicaid, how does VA deal with the revocable living trust? Our last question has to deal also with revocable living trust and kind of estate planning in general. What do I think about? So I know I want to set up a trust. What kinds of things should cross my mind? Well, I just met with somebody, I don't know, 2 hours ago maybe, and we talked about this. And pretty sizable amount of assets. And the question is, what do you want to do with your stuff? So if you're disabled, if you pass away, what if your spouse passes away? What if you pass away and your spouse is still alive? What do you want to happen to your stuff? And, a lot of times when we ask that question, it's like, well, I want it to go to my relatives. Okay, that's good. Well, which relatives? We need to know. What percentage? Is it split equally? Not split equally? What is it? Do you want them to get it immediately? So I die and immediately that money goes to them. Well, that can be good or it can be bad depending on situation. What about if I'm married and I die, does all my stuff go to my wife and she owns it outright? Well, a lot of people say, yeah, that's great. And that could be perfectly fine. What if she remarries? And then she sets up a will or trust and says, everything goes to my new husband. Then she dies. Well, what happens to my kids? Well, the new husband may not want to give that money to my kids. So maybe I say, well, when I die, some I want to go to my wife, some I want to go to my kids. Well, you can do that. There's no right or wrong answer. You just have to decide what's best for you. And think about, the people you're leaving this money to, can they handle an inheritance? Can they, are they in a stable marriage? Are they in a stable business, stable financial condition? Do you want it to be in a trust, for example? And it says, okay, when I die, then this money immediately goes to a certain beneficiary, a child, a spouse, whoever. Or maybe say, you know what, it's going to stay in this trust. And we may even make it to where that child cannot get to that money. Instead, a trustee, person with the key, has to give it to them to protect the money from creditors, divorces, bankruptcy, lawsuits, whoever it may be. So the things to think about are, what do you want to happen to your stuff? When do you want that to happen? And there's kind of a tension between immediate access to that money, that inheritance, and protection of that money, that inheritance. And so if we say, well, I want my child to be able to get to it just immediately, I mean, like at the funeral, they can grab that money. Okay, well, that certainly makes it easy, but also means it's easy to blow that money. It's easy to lose that money. It's easy to be sued or divorced or whatever it may be. He said, well, I want it fully protected. I don't want any spouse, ex-spouse, lawsuit, business partner to be able to get to that money. Okay. Well, then it's going to be hard for the child to get to it, because whatever the child can reach in and grab, their creditors and predators can reach in and grab. So again, no right or wrong answer. You just have to think about these things. And this is why sometimes people say, well, what about LegalZoom? Or I don't know what the other one, Rocket Lawyer or something like that, or going to Office Depot and getting a form will. Will that work? A lot of times it will. So people say, well, it's, I don't know what it is, $200 on LegalZoom. how much do you charge for a trust or a will? I'm like, well, I don't sell a will. I don't sell a trust. What we sell is our process of helping you think through, well, what do you want with your stuff? I mean, if you say, I know exactly what I want, then I want everything to be left to my wife, and then when she dies, I want everything to go to my kids. Can you get that from LegalZoom? Sure. Now, you're not getting any counseling. You're not getting anybody saying, you do need to consider what if the child is disabled? What if your wife remarries? What do you want to happen to the money? All those things. When people hire a lawyer, that's to get that counseling. So you go, here's where I am. Here's where I want to get to. It looks like this is the quickest way, but sometimes you might need to go like this because that's actually the better way. So those are just some things to think about when you're talking about estate planning in general. My focus in this area of the law is really on elder law. So most of our clients are coming to us. There's been a crisis. Somebody's in an assisted living, in a nursing home. What do we do now? But in the kind of the context of doing all that sort of stuff, we do wills, power of attorney, revocable living trust. It's not our focus, but in order to do elder law, which is up here, you've got to understand the more basic estate planning. So hope that's helpful. I think that is all the questions that we have, at least that we have time for this week. Feel free to get in touch with us, 205-879-2447 or alabamaelderlawyer.com, or you can just leave a comment below this video about things we've talked about, or maybe a question you'd like to see us answer. We'll be glad to do that. You can also find us on Facebook. I forget the exact name of our Facebook page. I think it's Alabama Consumer Protection Attorneys. And we have a lot of people that comment on there and post on there. So you can also put a question on there. So look forward to chatting with you next week. And thanks for watching this. Okay. Have a great day. Bye-bye.